Friends, Dr. Murphy here. I like to learn from all editorials I read in the right-leaning Wall Street Journal and in the left-leaning New York Times. For the most part, I'm able to see what I consider history lessons, words of wisdom, but every now and then I see some real strong judgment, and I kind of call that out. So I want to share with you an editorial from today's Wall Street Journal, okay? So this is by Barton Swaim. I like this guy. But let me just go to the last paragraph where I'm going, oh, Mr. Swaim, you are a bit judgmental here. So this title, It's All the Evangelicals' Fault Again. The country has a welfare state that harms its beneficiaries. Well, that's not entirely true, Mr. Swaim. An education system that makes kids dumber. WTF, dude? Were you born into a family of crime and poverty? Where you went to the school of hard knocks, knows what it's like to live on the streets, have your parents in and out of prison? I don't think so. Elite universities that generate morons? Oh, really? Wow. Talk about judgmental. And cities that won't keep order. Mr. Swaim, there are called intractable problems on this planet. You seem to be blaming others. Evangelical Christians, for all their faults, bear very little responsibility for any of it. No, if we're being honest, we all bear some responsibility for the problems that plague our world. Goodness. Okay, now let's just go with what I consider words of wisdom. And I want to read most of this because I think here he is spot on. The decline of Christianity in the West, according to skeptics and secularists from William Godwin to the New Atheists, was supposed to usher in an age of rational discourse, social comedy, and political stability. Instead, it produced the collapse of communities once held together by religious belief, the proliferation of bespoke spiritualities and idiotic superstitions, and the pervasive unhappiness that always results from the attempt to answer spiritual longings with political zealotry. This is all good. I agree with that. Jonathan Rauch, a fellow at the Brookings Institution, acknowledges this state of affairs in his book, Cross Purposes, published February 4th. In a prologue titled The Dumbest Thing I Ever Wrote, he recalls a 2003 essay for The Atlantic in which he lauded what he called apatheism, the tendency among Americans not to care about religious questions. This he termed a major civilizational advance. I'm going to pause here to just remind you that I believe the true word of God, many universalists believe this, is Christ on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. And this applies to very bright editorialists, like this one too. I mean, in some ways he's making sense, and other way he's blaming and very judgmental. Let's go back. Mr. Rauch writes in mild self-mockery, let's just say that's not how things turned out. In fact, he goes on citing studies and analyses as America has secularized over the past 50 years, cynicism about politics, disdain for institutions, and the discontent with public life have risen. That's all true, okay? Admissions of fault are rare, and I am inclined to praise any such gesture. Well, so do I. Mr. Rauch is a gay Jewish atheist. The acknowledgement that Christianity has played some beneficial role in American society's development likely wasn't easy. That's true. Having been so wrong about so great a question, however, doesn't seem to have chastened Mr. Rauch or prompted a thorough reassessment. The point of his book is to pin the blame for the country's political pathologies on precisely the subset of Americans secular liberals have always preferred to blame, white evangelical Christians. Now, to me, this is too much black and white thinking, okay? Now, I will end this by saying I've had the opportunity to take care of more atheists in their dying days than any living physician I know. And I've learned so much from my thousands of agnostic friends and family members who have the courage to say, we don't know what happens at the end. But at the end, these agnostics are overwhelmed with a power much greater than human beings. And it's fascinating to see this. So I just think God saves all of us, all of God's creation, right?